So I made it back from my route, getting in my truck, getting it warming up. Of course, I'm not going to wait on it to warm up. I'm only a few minutes from home, so I'm just going to deal with the cold, what little bit there is. I mean, you figure for about 8 hours the truck's been sitting out here. Well, since I last drove it, 8 hours, we'll say. So it ain't all that cold. It's just a little bit cold. I got to slam my door to get the dome light to go out. I had the hinge. I replaced one hinge and had the hinge pin in the other one on the driver's side door. I had it replaced, and that didn't fix it. And I was told because a bolt was missing. So I got a bolt, put the bolt in there, and you still got to slam the door. So maybe it's just an old, rusty, worn out truck. All right, now we're off to the house. Thanks for riding along. Oh, and I got a bit of a rant. So for the last, well, let me just put it this way. I'll just tell you my story. Actually, it ain't a story, it's my testimony, we'll call it. So, what was it? Back in 2016, let me start over. So, I used to listen from the time, pretty much from the time I got up in the morning till I went to bed at night. I would listen to news talk, I mean, all day long. That it included, well, there's this radio station down in Cincinnati. A lot of you might be familiar with it. It's called 55 KRC. I would listen to 55 KRC out of Cincinnati. I would listen to 1190 WOWO out of Fort Wayne. I would listen to 610 WTBN, I believe it's called, over in Columbus, Ohio. I would listen to 840. Can't remember their call letters, but out of Louisville. And and prior to all that, I was strictly classic rock and roll. And then my dad told me about this guy on the radio. He said, you got to check him out. He's something else. So, at the age of 19, at 19, and for the next couple of years, occasionally for maybe 5 or 10, maybe 15 minutes at a time, I would listen to Rush Limbaugh. You guys can say what you want. I don't need to hear it. I'm own thoughts, and you probably don't want to hear it, so I just keep them to myself. And so, you know, I would listen to Rush Limbaugh just from about 19 to 20, and I'm talking like 10, maybe 15 minutes max at a time, because I wasn't into talk radio at that time. The only reason I was doing it was because my dad recommended it to me, and I wanted to have more to talk to my dad with, or talk with my dad on. I wanted more content to talk with him about, rather than just working on a car. And which, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy talking with my dad about working on cars, but I wanted more. There's more to my dad than working on cars. There's more to me than working on cars. So with that said, I started listening gradually to Rush Limbaugh, and over the course of time, I can't tell you exactly the amount of time, because I didn't really keep track of it. I just know that it became an all-day thing. Not of just listening to Rush Limbaugh, because he was only on for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I would listen to, like I said, 55 KRC out of Cincinnati, because I've been a delivery driver for many years, and so I don't like digging on radio, so I'd have these radios preset, or these stations preset, so that if I was in the area, I would listen to 55 KRC, whoa, just depending on where I was at. And I even have one radio station that I listen to, that I could listen to no matter where I was. That's a WLW 700, the big one. And and then we'll fast forward when Rush Limbaugh passed away. I didn't want to hear Glenn Beck, which I did listen to Glenn Beck, but I didn't want to listen to all these people trying to fill the shoes of Rush Limbaugh. It can't be done. Rush was one of a kind, whether you like him or not. The man had a talent that nobody else could do. And as I said, you're not going to change my mind on that. So, so anyways, when old Russ passed on, I needed, I went back to listening to classic rock. Excuse me. That didn't do anything for me. I just wasn't into the music. And so I'm like, and like I said, I didn't want to go back I didn't want to hear just anybody talking, so I'm like, wait a minute, I heard about this thing called Google Podcast. So, I looked on my phone, I found this app for Google Podcast and downloaded it to my phone, and I started searching through all the podcasts they have on there, and nothing was really catching my eye, and I kept digging, looking for more, or looking till I found something, and I ran onto this podcast. It's called Unashamed with Phil and Jace Robertson. And so I'm like, hey, that's the Duck Dynasty guys. I'm going to listen to them. And so on that podcast, they talk about the Bible. Because truthfully, you get beyond the ducks and the bucks and the fish. Those guys are all about Jesus. So their podcast was on, talking about Jesus. And I went to the very first episode of Unashamed, and I listened to them all. At one point I was caught up. There's they got over 1,000. They may be in 11 or 1,200 by now. But anyways, I listened to them, and then I started going to church, and my pastor at church, he turned me on to this app it's a dramatized King James Bible, an audio Bible, and so I found that, downloaded it, and I enjoyed that tremendously. And so listen through the whole Bible probably 4 or 5 times, from Genesis to Revelation. I did the Genesis Revelation back about 5 times, and then after that, then I went after I got to the end of Revelation, I went to Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I did that about a dozen times. And then one day, I decided that I needed to keep up on current events. So occasionally, I would listen to news talk. Okay, and that's what my rant's all about today. Finally, we're getting to it. So I was listening to a program, not going to mention the name, Doesn't matter. But here's what does matter. They're like, we're going to play this clip of blah, blah, blah for you. And, you know, this is 2025, almost 2026. Technology has come a very long way. You know, the quality of recording, whether it be a video or audio, has come a really long way. And so on this clip that was played, it was the most crappiest audio. You know, there's more background noise. You couldn't hear what they intended on you hearing. There was so much ambient noise that you could not make out what was being said. They done that two times, and then I just turned the radio off. Like, I don't want it. If I can't hear what's being said, I don't want to hear it. And so that's my my testimony and my rant for the day. And if you're still hanging in there and you listen to me this far, thank you. Y'all have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.